right. Jonathan Hicks, Those Dark Places by Osprey Games, industrial science fiction role-playing. On the back, Those Dark Places is a rules-light, story-focused role-playing game about the darker side of space exploration and the people who travel the stars in claustrophobic, dangerous conditions. Starships, stations, and outposts aren't havens of safety with clean, brightly lit corridors. They're potential death traps funded by budget-conscious corporate interests. I love it. So again, I want to talk a little bit about this game. Again, I think the rule book, there's the proof sheet, the rule book counting mission 121 pages of sheer bliss for me. Story driven. You could, right? Or you could use tables, random tables. You could use something like our random seed generator to generate once everybody's in. I won't. I will have an idea of what they face and what they will face, but it won't be story driven so much as it'll be character choice driven, player agency driven, but they will be conditions they're dealing with, if that makes sense. But what I want to talk about, again, the cheat sheet. I'll be providing this cheat sheet to everybody in the Discord chat, those who are planning on playing with me in the future at some point, hopefully on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. The cheat sheet. So characters are a handful of things. They are a name, of course. They have 4 attributes, case files they're called, which is charisma, agility, strength, and education. You rank those attributes from 1 to 4. Of course, you only get 1, 2, 3, and 4, so you can't have them all ranked at 4. You have to rank them. Okay. This number is added to a d6 to generally beat a 6, a 7, or an 8. So if something is easy, you'll need to beat a 6. Traditionally, if I just say make a roll, it's a 7. That's the standard challenge. And anything kind of difficult is an 8. So there won't be a myriad of numbers. If I say, man, this is easy, you need a 6 or better, adding your attribute to it. If I just say it, it's a 7. If it's difficult, I'll say, this is going to be a little tougher. You need an 8 or better, right? Okay. So again, pretty self-explanatory. Charisma, you're dealing with conversation. You're dealing with player if you want to affect other players. However, I usually let players work it out. I generally don't like social rules where a player can use his charisma to trump other players. That's not a fan. I'm not a fan of it, but the book does hint that is an option to use charisma against other players. But you get the gist. Like most games, charisma is your ability to communicate, your ability to negotiate, your ability to intimidate, etc. Agility, of course, is going to affect your ability to jump, do athletic things, shoot your weapon, etc. Strength measures both your melee ability, your ability to lift, move, and power, etc., but also your ability to sustain damage. So when your strength gets to -2, you become unconscious, and you will bleed out if you're not taken care of, equal to your strength score. So let's say my strength is a 2. Once I get to -2, I fall unconscious, or 0, I fall unconscious, or -2, I'm dying, I'm bleeding out. But I can get to it, I get 4 rounds, or excuse me, my strength is 2, so I get 2 rounds at -2 before I die, right? So you bleed out for rounds equal to your original strength score. And then, of course, education, which is going to have to do with your IQ, your actual education. If I'm a pilot, it's going to be added to my ability to pilot. Might be using agility with a pilot check. If it's something like dodging an asteroid or who knows what, right? Okay. Then we have our 4 attributes, our name, our 4 attributes, and then we have what's called a pressure bonus. You add your strength to your education. This is your bonus. So let's say my strength is a 2, my education is a 3. That's a +5. That 5 is added to a d6 in pressure situations. I need a 10 or better to avoid an additional pressure level. Once my pressure level gets to level 2 or more, I have to make a d6 roll, and if it is less than my current pressure level, I will suffer an episode. And again, those episodes can be fleeing in terror. They can be becoming a violent. They can become catatonic, etc., etc. So it's not going to be easy to avoid. So when pressure occurs, you got a chance to actually shake it off, but you get levels, and then you still have to fail a pressure level check to suffer one of those table breakdowns. So I like the fact that it's here, and it's not something that's going to be easy. Once you start accruing pressure levels, though, it will be pretty easy for your character to have a breakdown. Then you pick a primary crew position, and I didn't list the crew positions here, and a secondary crew position. Again, you want to be a pilot, and then you want to be the liaison officer. So if you're doing anything related to piloting, it's a +2 automatically to your attribute, to your role to succeed. If it's a liaison officer and you're negotiating with the station, space station warehouse manager to let you store your goods there, you know, for so many weeks or something like that, then you would use your +1 liaison and your charisma to try to negotiate with the warehouse worker or something like that. Okay. Here's the thing that makes, for me, those dark places, well, all of it to me is the perfect, it's the perfect, well, I've said it before, it reminds me a lot of our game, Dark Age of Man, except it does not define the GM's role as a presenter, of course. It does not define the GM as a naive narrator. It does not make utilization of a one-sheet prep to make sure the GM comes to the table with something, but make sure the GM stays naive beyond that. And then our random seed generator, which creates variables for the players. So it's a different way of focusing on characters. So Dark Age of Man says this is quite literally a world. You should read it. You should know it. You should be familiar with Dredgewater. Pick your character, make him exist in that time period, that place, and you know, try to give his score your attributes in such a way that your character can actually achieve. If you want to play him as a lord, you need it in prestige. You want to play him as a warrior, you need it in body. If you want to play him as a magician or a wizard, you need to put it in mind. If you want to play him as a priest, you need to put it in spirit, right? And then you can play to those things that you believe your character is, or the job or the role your character has. That's our game. And then our game drops the players on their head in a particular situation, and then we roll random variables that may or may not trump, or may not put difficulties in front of the characters, or make more difficult the characters' lives. Okay, this doesn't do that. This is a story-based game, so you're supposed to have something somewhat prepared, etc. Okay, I may or may not. I will have a paradigm, so to speak, but for the most part, it won't be completely random. But it won't be something like they've got to go A, B, C, D, you know, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, boom, right? Nothing like that for me. Okay, but this is what's amazing. So in our game, you earn repute. Repute is basically a level, and when you earn a repute point, you can take that repute point and immediately spend it on an attribute. But you cannot go over 4 for any single attribute, and you cannot go over 10 total for your, or 8 total for your attributes. So there is a limitation to how big and strong you can get, even with a repute score of 10. Okay, and so what this does is it means you can level up. You can actually get better at combat, or get better at your spirituality, or get more prestigious, right? Until you max out at that 4. Okay. This, for me, one of the things that makes this special, makes this game phenomenal, is there is no leveling up. And this blew my mind. I read it, didn't quite take it in. You know, when I read it, I said, this is cool. You know, it's got this retirement thing. Experience becomes years accrued, months accrued, days accrued, you know. And then I read through it again, and then I scratched my head the third time, and I went, I didn't read anywhere on how they level up. I didn't read anywhere on how they improve their characters. And then it dawned on me, because I'd read it already. I kind of peruse a book the first time through, then I'll read it succinctly, and then I'll go back to it as I prepare to play, or I'll go back to it as I prepare a session, etc. And I'm looking at it, and I'm there. That's because you make a character, and the goal is to survive 25 years of service. That's it. So you're accruing years, months, days as experience, and your goal is to survive. That's it. You don't get better. You're not going to spend points. You're not going to change your character. You're not going to suddenly get powers and skills. And when it hit me, and I reread it, and I went, oh my God, that is unbelievable. I've never seen a game that didn't have some character expansion, right? Where you're either adding points to something, or you're acquiring a new skill, or a new feat, or a new talent, or you're accruing greater attributes, or nothing like that. So you make a character with your buddies in a crew on a ship to do a job, and you're sent off to do these jobs, and a job could take 6 months, a job could take 3 weeks, a job could take 4 years. My first session that I've outlined for the group could, in total, over the course of the whole thing, if we can't finish it in one session, we might have to do 2 or 3 sessions. I don't know what. They could accrue, by the time they get back to headquarters, 9 years of service. So in 1 or 2 sessions, if they survive, they're already a third to retirement. And if they're successful, they get a bonus that counts toward their months or years in the service. So being successful, go secure this derelict ship, and we want you to tug it over to the space station, and then we want you to disassemble the ship for parts, and however long that takes for you to successfully disassemble this derelict ship at the space station. Okay, let's say they do that and they succeed and it's done. Job is done. It takes a session to do it. They get 25% bonus to their years. And say it took them a year's worth of duty, they would get a year and 25% more than that, right? So they would get 16 months service, right? Which would be accrued on their experience chart. Your goal is to survive 25 years and you retire, and you don't worry about money in the game. There is no credits. There is no spending money. There is no getting gold, so to speak. So what's great about this is you're accruing that service so you can afford to not only fulfill your duty to the corporations or the corporation, whatever, and you retire. All of that accrued service is your retirement pay. So that bonus of 25% if you succeed, or a bonus of as much as 50% if you succeed. If you really kick butt on a mission, you could get a 50% bonus. So this is a 2-year gig. I get a 50% bonus. That's 3 years out of my service, so to speak, right? Okay. So that's pretty cool way to campaign. And our characters first. Certain things are assumed. It outlines ID chips and basic weaponry. It outlines what ships may or may not have. You don't have to worry about, carrying armor, or, certain things are going to be available in the ship, like medical units, oxygen tanks, whatever the case may be, space suits. But the quality of those things are dictated by its definition of the kind of people you work for. Cheap corporations, old ratty equipment. This is what makes it dangerous, right? We need to go down to the moon and investigate a mining outpost that has stopped producing. We haven't heard anything from the miners in 3 weeks. So we're going to have to suit up. We're going to have to drop a pod, or we're going to have to land on the moon, right? Our survey ship on the moon, and disembark. And we're wearing old equipment. We're dealing with ships that are suffering wear and tear. All kinds of amazing and fun dilemmas in which the crew, that's the engineer, has to fix, or the pilot has to get under there and fix, right? I cannot imagine the joy. I cannot imagine the fun that can be had with a game this simple, with no idea of worrying about leveling up. Your goal is to be a character working for corporations, doing these dangerous jobs. And ultimately, your job is to survive. That's the goal, right? As opposed to D&D, your goal is to level up, get experience, get stronger, keep playing, right? And of course, to survive is assumed. But because this game is about very dangerous, dark places, working for cheap corporations with old equipment, I love it. It's beautiful. And we got all kinds of options, right? We can do the Alien options. We can do a Blade Runner-esque options. We can do the Outland cop options. We can do all kinds of dirty, grimy, old, a future that's aged, right? A future that's corporations are trying to improve their profit margins, right? So they're cheap, etc. Very, very cool. We're not dealing with politics. We're not dealing with interplanetary warfare necessarily. You could set them in a space where there's war going on between a couple of factions if you wanted to. But I love that. And I have never seen a game that doesn't level up in some way. Even my 2 favorite one-page RPGs by Scott Moldhouse, In Darkest Warrens and Interplanetary Adventures, you level up. This you don't. You make your character and you buy into the idea of what your ship is, and what your jobs are, and your crew members and your mates, and you go on these adventures. And there's something wonderful about that. You just don't concern yourself with this idea of actually becoming, you're already a great pilot. You wouldn't be in this gig, and you have a 4 education. You're a doctor with a 4 education. You're already a professional, right? You're already working for a corporation who's sending you on these long distance, dangerous journeys. The book outlines the phases of your trip, right? Ship prep, the long sleep, coming out of long sleep, and the protocol, right? That you would go through, right? As you travel through space, and the protocol of signaling these stations so you can land your ship, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing. So in 121 pages, I personally, I have yet to GM it, so I could be completely wrong about the kind of experience we're going to have. But in reading it, perusing it, reading it through, and then reading it through a second time, and I'll read the quote that I read more than once, but it didn't quite hit me till the second complete read through. where is it at? Pressure, and I'll talk about pressure and game time. Payment and retirement. So here it is at the last sentence. In those dark places, the character's aim is simply stay alive and make it to retirement. So your experience that you accrue is in days, months, and years. Your goal is to get to 25 years and you win, you survive, you get to retire. That puts all onus on being characters, playing who you say you are. I am I am the pilot of this ship with a 2 agility and a 4 education, a 1 strength, and my name is Commander John Jones, right? And this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I look like. This is, how I go about. And then you play that character, you play that personality, interact with the world, and try to get to retirement. And I love that because now your character dying means you lose. If you were playing in a group for a campaign and I get to 10 years, my character sees rookies coming in. Dale's character's on his 3rd character. These rookies keep showing up that have like 6 months of experience. And I love this. And how many movies, do you meet the character that's 2 years from retirement? And you're like, oh, the minute you hear in a screenplay, you're watching a film, and one of the elder statesmen of the cop, the rookie cop and the rookie detective and the aging detective. And if any time in the dialogue between these 2 characters occurs in script, in movie, and the elder detective says, man, I'm 18 months from retirement, you better bet that's foreshadowing he ain't going to get to retirement. So now we're invested in, will this guy get to retirement, this aging detective, or will he not make it to retirement? And normally that's a pretty good foreshadowing. Oh, damn. How is this guy going to die, right? Not all the time, right? That's, you don't have to write a screenplay or the movies don't have to mean that, but very often when you hear that, you have to scratch your head and say, uh-oh, right? But I love that idea that if you played it long-term campaigns or something like this, you've got 2 guys in the group that are veterans, man. They're 22 years in, and you got a couple of young guys coming on that, and that don't get me killed, kid. You know what I mean? I love it. I just love what this could create. And you say, why would you campaign with something where you never improve your character? Because it's about people. It's about characters. It's about the stories. Dude, I remember I was 19 years in, and that alien had me trapped in that mining tower, and Dell sacrificed himself, to blew up that mining tower. Somehow my character survived. And man, I'm at 23 years now. Dell lost a character. I mean, that's a story that people tell, real life story, right? I'm on an oil rig and I saw 2 guys die. And I'm lucky. I'm 18-year vet here, and I've seen guys lose hands. I've seen guys lose fingers. I've seen guys, killed, whatever. That is the character. That is the story. That is the thing. And then we play to find out, right? So I love that. It's incredible. So anyway, combat now, simple. Melee is an opposed check. So if I'm going to get in a fight with in a barroom brawl, non-lethal, I do a strength check. I add my strength to a D6 roll. If it's higher than the opponent I'm fighting, strength check, D6 roll, I win, and I cause 1 point of damage. If I am in melee with a weapon, I get to roll D6, and if I roll above a 2, I get to do 2 points of damage. So I'm either doing 1 point of damage or I'm doing 2 points of damage in melee, right? Creatures and other things can do more damage, but a D6 roll gives you a variable as to how much, right? So I do 1 point of damage non-lethal, and it's just a fist fight. But let's say I hit a guy with a metal club and I succeed. I actually beat him in a fight. I got a metal club. He's got a shiv, and we're fighting in an old warehouse. And I win that round. I roll a D6, and if I roll a 2 or better, I do 2 points of damage, lethal damage to his strength, right? And that's the simple part. Weapons, guns, etc., right? Generally, there's some stun guns. There are other weapons that can be created, but you wouldn't want to use a lot of ballistic weapons on a space station or spaceship, as putting holes in the hull of a spacecraft, not bright, right? So a lot of these weapons are considered stun type weapons, but they can have weapons that obviously can do killing damage. They do variable damage. Again, same thing. But this, you have to hit a 7 mark. So let's say he's behind. It's point blank. I've got a gun pressed to the back of and it's a 6. Just make a 6 roll, add your agility to it. Boom, right? If it is a normal shootout, right? Just normal search situation, it's a 7. You need a 7 to hit them, right? You just roll and beat a 7. If they have something like cover or they're sprinting or dodging, I would make it an 8. I would make it that harder roll. So combat's very simple. And then we roll again, whatever the weapon is, whether it is a ray gun, whatever you may be facing.
You make that variable D6 roll, and they can do anywhere from 1 to 4 points of damage, depending on the weapon, right? So that's pretty serious. So again, now let's talk about, I think I already did, but let's talk about partial success. So there is 3 phases. There's success when you roll above the number you need. Partial success when you roll the number you need. So you need a 7, you roll a 5, add your strength to 2, 7. 7 is partial success, okay? Which means you're going to get something, but there's a yeah, but, right? Yeah, but. Success, you get what you want. I want to hit him with a club. Bam, you hit him, do damage. 7 is you hit him with a club, but you draw, it rings, lights up your elbow, and you only do 1 point of damage. Right now in combat, it's more defined. So I wouldn't probably use partial success for combat. You need a 7 to hit, a 7 hits, right? But let's say it's opening the gas valve. You get a 7, dude. You get it open, but you break the top off. There ain't no shutting this gas valve down now. Damn, you can't turn this off now. Where you now what, right? So you got it, but you broke the valve, right? And now you can't shut the damn gas valve off, right? So very, very fun. And of course, a 6 or whatever, missing a number that you need is complete failure. You can't get the gas valve open. You can't get it open. Matter of fact, I suppose you could say failures, not only that, you broke the valve and you can't twist it now. You can't open it or close it, right? You broke the damn valve off. So now there's no getting this thing open ever, right? But anyway, that is, and I had to talk about this again because, of course, I was going to try to play on Saturday. I just didn't have, we didn't have enough people available. So we're trying to set it up in our rotation for either Tuesday or Wednesday night, hoping to get more of the guys that are interested in trying this out. Super simple, right? We invest ourselves in the fiction. We invest ourselves in this world. We invest ourselves in each other's characters. We invest ourselves in the goals of what you're trying to achieve for the corporation, the job you've been tasked to do, and your goal is to be standing and keep standing and get to 25 years accrued service so you can retire. And dude, I love that idea, right? So anyway, it's amazing. So I'm hoping, again, we'll get to this in a few weeks. But I do look forward to this, and I'll find one way or another, I'm going to find a way to run this, right? Whether it's, we'll get it done, but it's so good, so good. All right, I think I covered. Let me double check my cheat sheet. I'm going to be giving the cheat sheet to the group. Melee, oh yeah, right. Then one of the basics, try not to ever land your ship on a planet unless you have the power to escape the planet. Survey ships are generally the only ships that do land planet side. So if you're on a survey job, you may well have to set down on the planet. And that ship would, of course, you would want to make analysis and data checks to make sure you have escape velocity to get off the planet, wear and tear on the ship. So you can land ships on planets, but there is some serious wear and tear on the ships to escape. So these are some of the things that are in the book that are hints to how you want to play the game and what the players should know. Again, if they don't have the book and haven't read that, those are things I would remind, probably, unfortunately, live in session. Guys, it might not be smart to put your ship down here without making sure you can get it off the planet. If they were reading this book, they would know that's not normal standard operating procedure, right? Pretty cool, pretty cool. Anyway, love it. I think you did a brilliant job with this. And again, I have a lot of experience in years playing. I have a lot of experience as a GM. I have most of that. I would say 80% of that experience has come via something like Dungeons and Dragons. It's come via D20, and quite a bit of experience, with our game, play testing it, writing it, play testing it, writing it. And then, of course, I've had a chance as a GM and a player to try all kinds of other games, but I have yet to see another game. And again, I haven't seen them all. Like I said, there are thousands of role-playing games out there. Some are free, some are big time, some are well-known, some you can buy, some you can download. I don't know, but I have never seen a game that says don't sweat leveling up, sweat surviving. Accrue those years, and your goal is to win. Your goal is to retire an old man or whatever at 50 or 45 or whatever age you start your character's career. I love that. I love it because now we're invested in the people. We're invested in what's happening, and the stories come out of the actions and the results of what has happened. And it's about the people. It's about the characters. And if you say you're a pilot with an education, with an agility of 4, you are a gunslinger pilot. You're the guy that takes the yoke, turns off the artificial intelligence flight assistant, and you take the yoke, and you're a hot dogger, right? But you could be a pilot with a 4 education. You're schooled in piloting, right? You just got that knowledge. what comes up in game, like you need to make an agility check to pilot this aircraft without computer assistance, might be harder for you. But when it comes to computer, pilot, navigation, et cetera, right? All of those attributes tell you something. I'm a security guy. I'm beefed up. I'm a 4. I'm a martial arts expert. And, you know, that's awesome. And then I got a 3 education. I also understand security. I understand how to bypass alarm systems. Like, tell your story as we play. Dude, I've got 3 education security systems. You know, that's what I do. I am a security specialist. It's that simple. I mean, it's that simple. You know, we don't need some long 5-page character generation. We don't need a character sheet that's 3 pages long with all of this stuff, right? Love it. And we find out who you are based on who you play, right? And then, of course, your success or failure of those attribute checks against challenges to tell our story, right? Love it. Anyway, I just want to talk about this because I am definitely going to demand at some point we give this baby a roll because it's going to be great fun. And so, all right, everybody out there have a wonderful, what is today? Sunday, great week coming up. Tuesday night, David is running Simba Room, I believe. I think I haven't had a chance to log in until today, so I'll log in and double check that we're up for Tuesday night, but I am looking forward to that, man. David runs some brilliant sessions. All the guys do. And I'm looking forward to getting into tarot shoes again. Tarot, so I'm a firm believer that as my character upgrades and learns things, I like to narratively explain how tarot did this thing. So I spent my XP on sword and shield skills at novice level, my last level up. And I define that as while Taro has been working at guarding the stables for the local Queen's Army in Thistlehold, he was learning sword and shield techniques from soldiers there. So by the time he's ready to go back into the field, he has a shield and he has a sword now. He obviously he owned a pike, no longer has a pike. He's always had a sword of some kind with him, but now he's acquired a shield and a sword, and he's learned the techniques for sword and shield at novice. And I love the idea that while paying off gear that he got, Army surplus gear, he had to work at the Army stables, guarding the Army stables, but at the same time took advantage of learning some sword and shield techniques from some of the guys, some of the soldiers, or maybe even from training, Queen's Rangers trainers. Who knows? But I like that idea of narrative. What I love about this is we don't level up our characters. They are what they say. They are what we say they are, right? Their attribute rank tells us what their background is. If I have a 4 education as a doctor, there's going to be all kinds of things as a doctor I'm going to be able to narratively express, right? Think McCoy, right? McCoy is he was a doctor. He was an expert doctor. He understood all kinds of medicine, right? Not just one specific type of medicine. You know, Dr. McCoy was a master of, in Star Trek, right? Which is not the ideal, since this is a completely different science fiction, but you get my point. So anyway, I'm looking forward to Tuesday night and playing again this week. It's going to be great fun. All right, everybody out there, have a fantastic, and I'm telling you, for those of you out there that want simple, clean, and very pick up and play fun, again, I don't know. I got it for $25 hardback color from Amazon. I think it's normally $39 or $40, but the PDF might be cheaper from Osprey. I think Osprey sells PDFs. I'm not certain, but well worth it. I'm telling you, fantastic. All right.